Book 3. The Council of the Ages. Chapter 9, Part 3. Gosberg lit a cigar with his usual skill and offered a drink to the half-orc, who accepted the bottle as he took a seat on the steps of the temple. "Dwarf black mushroom liqueur," exclaimed the half-orc as he tasted it. The Denka took a big gulp. "The best, the elves have a magnificent cellar. Fortunately I was able to make a visit to such an extraordinary place on 2 or 3 occasions during our brief stay." Agnorak smiled. "You'll be a thief. Come on, be indulgent. Having this bottle undrunk is a waste. Here on the label it says that it was bottled during the reign of Atrum el Quebrantarokas." Kush scratched his head and inhaled some of the contents of his pipe on hearing that reference. "That was almost more than 2 centuries ago." "That's right." Gosberg replied thoughtfully as he examined the bottle. "What an asshole dwarf. Because of him the Stufos invaded the Brown Hills." Agnorak was silent as he took another sip of such exquisite liquor. Turkheimak was majestic, although totally unpopulated. Only the Harbour Quarter and the Grand Temple District were inhabited. Although little by little confidence was regained that the city was safe. After an era with the damned wandering at sunset, it was normal that few wanted to venture to live in this place. "Is this place safe? Since Arian freed the damned there is no danger, everything is clear." "And the Stufos?" "It seems that they disappeared with the damned. When recovering the temple, we examined its underground levels, they are very deep. Arian caused a landslide in some galleries that were lost inside the earth. I doubt that the Stufos are capable of moving those rocks. We looked for more underground galleries and have demolished most of them, although the underground is full of galleries so the threat still exists." Agnorak stood silently, watching suspiciously at the shadows of the ruins of Turkheimak. "What do we need to do to make you confident that this place is safe?" Gosberg asked. "If this place is so safe, we can go anywhere at night. Of course, it is a very pleasant walk." Agnorak sat up slightly to propose a destination he wanted to visit. "Well, then let's go to some building." Gosberg and Kush watched each other. The magician quit smoking, extinguishing the pipe in a hurry. "It seems to me that the large library is close to here, across the bridge. I think it's a good destination. The truth is that I have not visited it yet. We have only examined the library of the temple, which has been very interesting." Gosberg drained the contents of the bottle and threw it on the floor. "Well, if we continue talking, dawn will break and Agnorak will not be able to look with distrust at all the shadows of this city." Agnorak got up to follow the Denka. Kush also sat up to begin the walk. The last and the one who did not seem very happy with the excursion was Sabu, but in the end he joined the rest of the entourage. "Do you know where the library is?" "If I remember correctly we have to walk along this avenue, cross the bridge and it is the building on the left." They began to walk in the light of the blue moon. The bluish tone of the star gave the abandoned city a mysterious air. Agnorak was suspicious. He expected that from any corner an attack of a cursed man or a band of Stufos would appear, but nothing. Besides being a clear and cloudless night, the entire avenue that led to the library could be clearly seen. When they reached the bridge they paused, since Gosberg wanted to pee after so much drinking. In the end Agnorak and Kush joined in this work. While they were urinating the half-orc observed how the course of the Albrisha River flowed into the sea in a simple way. He wondered where the water of this river came from since there was a great wall that the Max created to contain the damned, so its course in theory had to be interrupted. "How good life is sometimes!" Gosberg exclaimed when he had finished. Once relieved, they continued the march. Crossing the bridge to the left was the Great Library of Turkheimak, an imposing building at the entrance of which was a large inscription in Elf, the doors having long since disappeared. Once inside the building, it was very dark, something rare in a library. Kush closed his eyes and recited a series of words in a strange language. From his hands emerged spheres of light that allowed them to see the entire environment. There were a huge number of books on the shelves of the building. They stared at the huge shelves of the place. It's amazing. Being so close to the temple, no looter ventured to this place. It was too risky. It is all intact since the settlers do not seem very interested in books. Arian forbade entry to this place without her explicit permission. And us? Agnorak asked. We don't need it. Gosberg commented with a smile. We would spend centuries just cataloguing all the books. Gosberg was silent and picked up one of the books, which when he tried to open it fell apart in his hands. This usually happens. More than 5,000 years have passed. Most of these books are dust unless a restoration spell is applied to them. A restoration spell? Yes, they are made to restore books, scrolls, and other ancient objects, but they are difficult to find and very difficult to create, so they are only used in worthwhile copies. You should use that spell with this book. Which book? The Denkga handed a magician a small copy all worn out. It did not look like an edited book, rather it looked like a work diary. Handwritten on the cover you could clearly understand the title of the book that Kush read aloud. Magical Crystallization, Creation of Mineral Crystals with Magical Properties from Fluids with Supernatural Properties, Priest Nehemiah Lormela. One of the last great priests, he was also an expert alchemist. Gosberg informed him. I am not an alchemist. That's more for the gnomes. Come on, you can master any subject if you set your mind to it. It is also a very interesting knowledge. Kush sighed for what he lacked, that Gosberg would direct his research, but hey, he always had a restoration spell among his things and the matter was unknown to him. At least I would take a look at the book. The truth is that there were always rumors about a great discovery just before the Age of the Damned. While the wizard and the Denkga were talking, Agnorak began to look at the covers of the books. There were countless themes. He could barely understand the titles. His knowledge about the ancient elf was quite basic. He was focused on understanding how the organization was in this library, when they heard a whistle typical of the Denkga who with his natural ability had managed to sneak away to go up to the upper floor. The mage and half-orc climbed up, while Sabu stood at the entrance of the library next to some huge statues. What is happening in Gosberg? Award. This is amazing. The magician could not get over his amazement. It was a much smaller room than the Great Room. The works were protected behind some glass cases. They were locked away. Gosberg had to pick the lock, since when they arrived the Denkga was reading a book that seemed intact. Elven Books of the First Age. Kush examined the book with interest. Made with lamkla leaves, it is a practically indestructible material. They are worth a fortune. Agnorak walked around the room. There were other open display cases and abandoned books on the tables, as if someone had quickly looked for something, important information. Someone has been looking for something. Kush, who was reading one of the books, smiled. Yes, it looks like they came in here looking for something and left it suddenly. When the curse spread, the inhabitants had to flee so as not to become cursed. It must have been horrible. That's right. Agnorak walked to a table facing the great temple of Elaban. From a window he could see the lights of the temple. Thanks to the mags who created the Great Wall to contain the damned. Yes, thanks to them. Agnorak began to read what was in the book. It was difficult for him, but he understood enough to understand it. It was open in the middle of the book. They had taken the trouble to write on the most resistant material to leave a message for the future. By the beard of a cave troll. His two companions approached when they heard the half-orc's exclamation. Agnorak closed the book and read the title, Chronicles of the Demonic Wars, The Great Betrayal, by Bergius Luminen.